Hello, I'm making this video for you today so that we can talk about the Ethical Public Discourse project and so that you're aware of several resources that I've made available to you so that the drafting of the essay coming up in the next few days is as smooth and as productive as it can be. First, I'd like to remind everyone of what some of the most important goals of the project are. First, we want to be able to examine the potential for STEM topics to affect the common good, both positively and negatively. Though generally speaking, we tend to think about topics in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields as beneficial no matter what, unfortunately, the public discourse surrounding them, or simply the way that we come to know these things, isn't always complete or ethical enough to benefit all of us. And the problem is that sometimes that can actually lead to more confusion than not, and that would be the negative outcome. After that, another goal is to continue with the development of active reading skills, note-taking skills, and our overall comfort with reading scholarly writing. Next, we want to be able to recognize, understand, and use concepts that have been advanced by another author in his or her own writing to benefit what we do in our writing. After that, we want to be able to further practice the skills of quotation, paraphrase, and summary. And as you'll recall from the exercise that we just did, the three of these things are most effective when used in combination with each other. Finally, we will also continue working with APA format and citation skills. And there are 4 specific focuses within APA format that I want to make sure we all know that we should be using. First, a title page and abstract would work well for this assignment, so we want to use that. Next, we should have a header containing the title at left and page number at right. After that, we'll want in-text citations containing the author's last name, year of publication, and page number. Finally, we will want to make sure that we have end citations on a references page, and I emphasize references because that's what it's called in APA as opposed to citations in MLA. So a references page, which corresponds to in-text citations. First, I want to make sure you realize that, as is always the case, the most important source of guidance for how to do the project is in the assignment guidelines themselves. Make sure to read these carefully and to know exactly what each section of the assignment guidelines is telling you about what to do or how to think about the essay that you're about to draft. The most important revision that I've made here, other than having tweaked some wording to make it as direct as possible, is the section where you see here that it begins with the word note. That section reads, there are suggested topics on the next page. You may either choose from that list or simply use it as an indicator of the sorts of subjects that would work for this assignment. Or, if you're looking for more direction and don't want to have to come up with a subject of your own, you may choose this specific question as your topic. And the question is, does social media facilitate ethical public discourse and serve the common good? So just to reiterate, the second page that we'll look at in just a moment does consist of a long list of possible subjects, and you could choose from one of those subjects or simply use the list as an indicator of the sorts of subjects that would be acceptable. Or if you would like a very clear, very concise question to answer rather than having to devise your own subject, again, that question is the one that's here. Does social media facilitate ethical public discourse and serve the common good? Regardless of what subject you choose and where it comes from, you'll be doing these 4 things. Number 1, discuss Seller's essay to explain to your reader what it is about. Number 2, discuss Seller's essay to demonstrate how its important concepts relate to each other and the question of whether public discourse has been ethical or not. Number 3, select an example of something from or related to the STEM fields that has been in the public discourse in the recent past. Then, number 4, by researching journalistic news articles, video content, and other media having to do with the subject you decide to examine for this project, Apply Seller's framework to assess the ethics of the public discourse surrounding that subject. After that, I have what you might think of as a further instruction or perhaps a disclaimer that you'll encounter here and also at the top of the next page. Your main focus for the essay is not the subject that you choose, at least not the subject itself, but the ethical nature of the popular discourse that surrounded it. Your main argument is not whether the subject was right or wrong, good or bad, or anything else concerning it directly, but whether public discourse surrounding the subject you choose was ethical in its effects on the common good. I won't take the time to read the guidelines to you, as I would imagine you're capable of reading those yourselves, but make sure that you know that, as is the case with the last essay, and as will be the case with future ones, there is an expected minimum length, and there are also notes here about requirements in terms of citations, resources, and the sorts of basic research we'll have to do for this. And as I mentioned, the second page gives us that list of topics that is not exhaustive, but should give you a good sense of the sorts of topics that will be useful for this assignment. There it is. To finish then, I also have posted to Blackboard for you an outline or index of the most important concepts coming from the Seller's essay. For each of these concepts, I've made sure to organize this index according to the page or pages those appear on, and that's the reason that the first entry simply lists page 3 because that's the one page we have these concepts on. However, our next entry is 4 to 5 because the ideal function of public discourse is being addressed across those 2 pages. Along with our page numbers to help direct you to where to look, I also have notes here that help to direct you in terms of how to use these things. And so anytime we have a new concept being introduced, it will tell you what the page number is to look at, where you'll need to draw your direct quotation from that will allow you to take that concept from the Seller's essay and integrate it into your own. And finally, you'll have some direction in terms of what it will mean to use that concept as you do your own analysis.